All right, what's up, guys? I think if you're here, I'm pretty sure this is showing up in like a different uh, screen than it was supposed to. So let me try and send a message to the other guys waiting for the other one to get over here. I don't know why it does it. I apologize, guys. Our streaming software has been giving us some trouble lately. So hold on, let me just send this over. But Jayhawk, you want to give us an intro to today's slate while I try to work on this?
Yeah, man, I got you for sure. Yeah, so really fun slate today. Me and Chuck are both talking pre-stream, both coming off a pretty good day yesterday. Obviously Bones Highlands kind of disappointed us yesterday, but yeah, tons of great games today. Tons of injuries to break down, including Kobe White once again out for Chicago. So definitely a really fun slate to dive into here. So let's just kind of start the injury report here. So let's go through Chicago here first. So yeah, so Kobe White once again out for Chicago, and then so Chicago looks like the highest owned team on the slate. So I assume they will be probably the most chalky. So um, yeah, let's see. I'll send off the message now.
Yeah, I sent
Okay,
a
perfect.
message
I'll
to
let
the
you
other
take over.
chat. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, I didn't hear anything you said, but
It's all good. I just wrote down Chicago, how they're the chalkiest team. So
okay. Yeah, I mean, Caruso looks great. The big thing about Caruso is his minutes are definitely up since what was it? Kobe White is out. I think he even played big minutes that last game before Kobe White got hurt. But either way, Caruso and Dasumu both look great. And then I think the other big injury news is probably I think John Collins is out for Utah. Is that even on the main slate?
I think
Uh,
that's on the late slate. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
And then Tobias Harris is out for Philadelphia. We have confirmation that Nicholas Batum is starting. So that's going to be an interesting one. And then Desmond Bain is back for Memphis. I don't think he's on table. Like usually I say if they're good to go, they're good to go. But coming off an extended absence, I feel differently about that. And with his price still being at 8K, uh, I don't know. I don't think I can get to Bane today. And then the rest of his teammates are kind of priced for him to be out, right? So like JJJ, I still think is a fine GPP play. But other than that, I mean, were you looking at anyone on Memphis?
I wish, man. I mean, I had played Scottie Pippen at super low ownership the last slate, or maybe it was 2 sets ago when Memphis was on. But I
Mhm.
think with Bane back now, it's really tough to really play anyone from Memphis. So I agree with you.
Yeah, it's a pricing thing. Like we've seen this all season. And then after that, is Portland on the main slate? Yeah, the so Anthony Simon should be back tonight. Jeremy Grant is out. I think that's all we have on the main slate. I hate the way that they organize this. I can't tell anything. Oh, dude, Washington. We got Jordan Poole chalk today because Tyus Jones is out. What do
Good
you think
call.
about Jordan Poole, man?
Man, I feel like at the beginning of the season, we were both like, we're never playing Jordan Poole again. Here we go, man. Back in the starting lineup, I assume, right? Or do we think he's still going to come off the bench?
I have to imagine he starts in this spot. It's just if they're not going with Poole, was it Johnny Davis as their backup point guard?
Yeah, Butler, Davis. I think
Or
Davis.
Jared Butler. I think
Yeah,
Jared Butler was the guy that was showing up in my. Sorry, Johnny Davis listed as a small forward. Jared Butler was the guy showing up in my stuff earlier. He was my second highest owned player. The first run I did today, I was like, "What is happening?" Jordan Poole is the first, of course,
yeah.
but I don't know. He probably has to start, right? So it's like he's been awesome off the bench. Underdog actually has Jared Butler starting at point guard with Poole still off the bench. So it's like if Poole comes off the bench, he's basically the same play he has been, but he'll probably absorb a little bit more usage, probably get a few more minutes with Tyus Jones out. I mean, does Poole starting versus coming off the bench change anything for you in your how you look at him?
Not too much, man. I mean, she's kind of just without Tyus Jones. I mean, he just should be on the court in general more. So doesn't change too much for me. I really do like him on both sides here.
Nice. Um, yeah, Unicorn Love Poole for 6,500 on FanDuel. I mean, the model likes him in terms of overall FanDuel value. He's number two after Caruso. So I think the top two plays on value are pretty good. Naismith, GPP, feels like a GPP play. Joe Val, we've been talking about on the show, is a little bit too cheap. I don't mind getting there a little bit. 38% seems kind of extreme, though. We'll get into the centers in a little bit, but I mean, just looking at value, like Kuzma this high in value, Rui, Miles Turner, Halliburton, it's kind of a gross slate for value, right? Jonas top of value on DK. I mean, we'll get into the positions, but like just looking at the top of value, how are you feeling about this?
Yeah, man. I hate to say I typically don't like to eat ton of the chalk, but Joval at 5,200, man. Like, there's no Nance, so his minutes should be more secure here, and then it's a great matchup. So I think I'll be eating that chalk in terms of value. But yeah, interesting to see Mo Bamba in terms of value pretty high. Just like man, it's tough to really predict between him and Paul Reed. Like who's got the hot hand? Who are they going to play? It's a great matchup though for the Philly Bigs here for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to see who ends up starting because they are switching it up. Underdog has Mo Bamba starting next to Batum today with Tyrese Maxey, Kyle Lowry, and Kelly Oubre. Buddy Hield's been coming off the bench, so that is expected. And then let's just sort by ownerships real quick. Caruso, DeSumo, DeMar DeRozan, Torrey Craig is fourth after Jonas. Yeah, it's a Chicago day, and against Washington, this is one of the teams that we want to target players against. They're super chalk. It's a 9.5 point spread, but I mean, these are probably the best plays on the slate, right?
Yeah, man. Like I hate loading on one team, but it's just I feel like I don't know. Washington's just so bad in all aspects of their defense. So I hate saying that, but yeah, Chicago's just in a great spot here in general.
It's like looking at the top 8 owned guys. 7 of them are from this game. The only one that's not is Jovel. I mean, I don't think I'm gonna set any hard rules on like max 2 from this group, max 1 from this group for any of these teams. Maybe something with Washington like max 2 of Jordan Poole, Kuzma, and Avdia, but I don't think I'm gonna get that combo that much anyway. So if I end up with it a couple times, I don't mind it. But yeah, this is the game to target today. 9.5 point spread. It's not the greatest, not quite blowout territory. It's close to blowout territory. 223.5 total. All the totals are pretty low recently though. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think this is the game that we're gonna definitely probably have the most exposure to. If you want to go another direction, you know, GPPs take the risk. Like Rashawn Holmes and Jared Butler showing up 20% owned too, man.
it's crazy.
Yeah, let's have some fun with this one. So let's take a look at the guards, and yeah, Caruso, DeSumo, Poole, Oubre, Jared Butler, Bi, all above 15%. Everyone else is pretty low owned though, and so the rest of the ownership is spread around a decent amount. Sorting by OF index, we have SGA, Halliburton, Maxey, Steph Curry at the top. Uh, I mean, are you getting to any of these guys today?
I think my favorite out of the bunch here is probably Maxi. With the point guard and shooting guard eligibility and no Tobias Harris, man, I really do like Maxi here. I think Steph is fine. We'll kind of get into that game later. Should be a good like loans game to target with a really high total. So I don't hate Steph if he plays. And then SGA, man, I don't know. He's consistent in terms of like actually scoring points, but in terms of DraftKings, he hasn't been like an elite play at point per dollar. So probably Maxi for me.
Yeah, I like it. I was getting to a bit of Maxi as well, and with Tobias out, let me just refresh the model real quick, see if that updated Maxi at all. It doesn't change much, but he does get a slight boost in his usage. Yeah, it looks like his OF index came up a little bit, so Maxi's going to look pretty good tonight. His ownership doubled too.
Yeah,
Like Poole, 9.7 OF index. It's pretty great. Caruso, 9.5, dude. This might be the weirdest one I've seen all season.
that's
Yeah,
insane.
Caruso. Like the model is telling us Caruso is just the best play on the slate, so I'm loading up on Caruso today. DeSumo is a pretty good pivot too, though. I think he deserves some ownership, but the model is quite a bit lower on DeSumo versus Caruso.
Yeah.
And then just some other GPP flyers that I kind of like in this top row. I mean, D'Angelo, Anthony Simons, and Austin Reeves. Were you looking at any of these guys as targets?
Yeah, just quick call with your Lakers there. I think D'Lo and Reeves, both good tournament plays. I lean D'Lo, but I
Same.
think Reeves also great tournament plays. So I like both those guys in GPPs.
And then I want to point out, so I mentioned Desmond Bain is probably unplayable today at his price. Like, yeah, he could go out and play 30 plus minutes and get there, sure, but I think the risk outweighs the reward. We have projected for 26 minutes, which we don't really want to pay this much for a guy projected to play 26 minutes. And like I said, he could play 30 plus, but I think it's unlikely. I think we just avoid that situation today. Let's go ahead and sort by value. Caruso, Poole, Naismith, Koulibaly. I mean, you mentioned Koulibaly on Discord the other day. Is he like any kind of priority from Washington, or are you just putting everyone else first?
Man, he is kind of the guy I wanted to ask you about because I feel like if Butler starts, he's obviously going to be the clear chalk, and then same with Poole. So I feel like Koulibaly is kind of the one that's going to be left out. I don't hate it. 4,600. The thing is, like, are we really going to play him over the other two with Poole and what I just missed his- Butler? But yeah, I don't know, man. I think he's fine. I'm not huge on him though.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like he's shown up in a few of my lineups, and I'm not trying to get any more. I don't mind. I'm not going to try to get any less either. So whatever I get with him, just as long as it's not outrageous. I mean, he's projected for 12% ownership. If I'm around there, that seems fine.
No, I agree completely.
Russell, 3 out of 4 bad games, 7,300 on FanDuel. Yeah, man, he put up a 70 burger a couple games ago, and then he's been pretty garbage outside of that. 21, 26, 70, 17 fantasy points. So he's been pretty inconsistent after being like the Lakers' most consistent player for a while. But I'm going to take shots on him. Just having the ability to blow up for 70 fantasy points, and we know he can score the ball. He just has to hit a bunch of threes. And Darvin Ham, coaching, rotations, whatever. I think this is a pretty good GPP play today. It's like kind of a pivot off of the other guard chalk. You can't play Caruso, Dosunmu, Poole, and Russell, but
Yeah,
you can swap D'Lo in for one of those guys.
yeah, man, love that call. I love targeting players that have huge ceilings, and D'Lo is definitely among those players. So I like that call.
Would a different lineup have both Zion and Jonas there, or only need to play one of them? The thing is, like with Jonas's price, I don't mind playing them both together. I'm targeting Zion pretty heavily today, though. I mean, I feel like I'm going to be on Zion every slate that he stays at this price. I don't understand why they haven't adjusted it, and his ownership isn't even insane either. But Zion is definitely my priority from the Pelicans. I do have lineups with. I have a ton of Jonas today, so I definitely have lineups with them both together. I think it's fine.
Yeah, man, and like the way Zion's playing, like I don't know. I think they're both fun to go together, and Jovel is just so cheap. I agree that he could get there at his price easily, and so can Zion. So
Yeah, the minutes are annoying, but just that's a risk we take when we're playing guys like that.
yeah, no, for sure. I mean, they should be better with no Larry Nance. So that's kind of my, you know, assumption, but who knows?
And then let's see, is there anyone else like any of the other mid-range guards? I mean, because I'm gonna play way too much Caruso and Poole today, so I'm really not getting too much of anyone else. But is there anyone else you think that could be a decent pivot off these top chalk guys?
Yeah, so we didn't know Kelly Oubre. He's projected to be really chalky on both FanDuel and DraftKings. He's 6K though, so I think he's a solid play. Even if he doesn't start, we should see, around 33 minutes in a great matchup. So I do kind of like Oubre here as well. Just wanted to.
I just noticed the ownership on him. I feel like it had to be lower before the Tobias news because I did not notice he was 36 and 50% owned. Like
Yeah.
I was about to say, he's a good GPP play starting. I
Yeah.
don't know if he's good chalk though. Like he's fine. It's not a spot where I think like, yeah, I want to get away from this chalk. Like I'm not gonna have 36% in my run, but we know that he has the ability to blow up. And against Charlotte, this is probably one of the better matchups to target him in. It's a 10.5 point spread, but he's on the team that's going to do the blowing out, so we don't care. The total 209.5 is kind of concerning, but again, all the totals are kind of low today, so it's not that big of a deal. But I will say this is probably like looking at Caruso, Poole, Dosunmu. This is probably the guy I'm least comfortable with, but I still want a bunch of him in my exposures.
Yeah, he also is forward eligible on both sides, so I'll probably fit him in forward if I can, rather than guard.
Nice.
So
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Just, I mean, the guard spots, dude. All the other guards
yeah,
are going to be so low owned today compared to the top guys.
yeah,
You mentioned Maxi. He's showing up as good value, too. So, Maxi, pretty solid play. Halliburton, I mean, dude, I want to play Halliburton because he's so low owned. This guy was 11K, and we wanted to play him at 11K, but I've mentioned it before. Like he's just not right after the injury. He's playing through injury so that he's eligible for the All NBA teams, and it's destroying his stats. So that it's like he might make third team All NBA now. He might not, but I mean, Halliburton, is this a guy that you're interested in playing at all?
man, the price point looks so good, man. It's just like you mentioned, the injury is really like pushing me away. So 9,200 or 9,300 on DraftKings, I think it's fine, but just so many good guard plays here in the mid tier. It's gonna be really tough to get to him in my opinion.
And then the other guy that's so weird, like SGA. Other than Anthony Davis, SGA is the second highest projected player on the slate today, coming in for less than 10% ownership. I do get it because again, all the ownership is going to these mid-range guys at the guard spot. But I mean, SGA's pretty consistently around 55 fantasy points. I mean, I kind of feel like unless he blows up for a huge like 60 plus game, it more depends on what everyone else does rather than what Shea does, as if he's going to be in the winning lineup. Like if he puts up 67 tonight, he's probably in the winning lineup, right?
Yeah.
If he puts up, this 50, he's probably not, but it's still possible if enough other guys just don't go off. But that hasn't really happened a lot lately. But I mean, SGA, are you playing him?
I lean playing more SGA, yeah, than Halliburton. It's just because I kind of feel like I know what I'm getting from SGA. It should be good for around 55. Mr. Consistent, as they call him. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, man, I think I'd prefer him between him and Hallie, but yeah, seems like a more safe play there with SGA more than anything else to me.
And I mentioned this kind of with Luca the other day, where Luca, like, we can project him for 70 at his price, and he got pushed out of the winning lineup, I think, two or three slates in a row, putting up 70. And it's kind of similar to SGA, where, like, he could return more than a 5x and still not be in the winner, even if he's the highest score on the slate, just because the salary doesn't work out. But 10-5, like, Luca was 12-8, I think, on the last slate that happened. 10-5, I mean, that 2,300 is pretty powerful. So, SGA, I think we want to be over the field on him a bit today.
Yeah, no, agreed for sure.
Uh, yeah, Jared Butler. I mean, I don't know what to say about Jared Butler. You got anything?
He's 3K. I'll say that. He's
He's 2K.
3K.
There you go. That might be enough.
Yeah. I think he's a
It's,
decent fantasy producer, man. Like at Baylor for like college basketball DFS, he was a pretty good producer. So I think he should be pretty good for cat.
has Tyus Jones missed a game this year?
I
Gonna
don't
go.
think.
I'm gonna look into this now because I'm curious. I feel like the team was different. If Tyus Jones did miss a game, he's been pretty consistent. No, this is the first game Tyus Jones has missed all year, so we really are kind of guessing on the minutes for everyone else. I mean, we can probably assume Jordan Poole's going to absorb a lot of those minutes off the bench. Like, even if he's not starting and he checks in like 4 or 5 minutes into the game, like it's the same thing. He's still going to play those 30 plus minutes, and he's actually been good at basketball. We thought that like who was it? Kevin Garnett was saying this guy doesn't deserve to be in the NBA, and it's like that's kind of extreme, but no, he's been good recently. I mean, still played 30 minutes off the bench most games. I imagine he has to play 30 minutes today, right? And Chicago, it's the problem is it's a tough matchup. I think Caruso and Dosunmu on the other side, so just something to keep in mind. Like I don't love Jordan Poole chalk. I'm playing a bunch of him, but I am a little uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, man, it never feels comfortable playing him. I don't know, like 6,200. I'm just gonna take that risk there with no tie second. So
Yeah, like the model is telling us to do it, so I'm gonna listen to the model. 34 and 35% projected ownership. It just, I don't know. Is the field gonna like be worried about it? Like kind of the things that we're worried about. Jordan Poole just isn't that good anymore. Like, are they gonna be under this? Are they gonna be way over? You think they'll just come in right at this 35%? Probably.
yeah, I kind of lean the last one. I think they'll probably come in around the fields. I
Okay.
don't know. I feel like if anything, people would want to play Poole just because he's been known for good being good in DFS in the past. So I don't know. Yeah, probably around 35% if I had to guess.
And then Chris Davis. Chris Davis from the Brewers. Am I
I think
thinking of
so.
the right person? Anyways, Cam Thomas against Indiana. I mean, he's GPP play 6,900, 7,600, coming in for 12% ownership. Like, and like I said, like every guard not named Caruso, Poole, or Desumu is probably going to come in slightly under owned today. And Cam Thomas is one of them. We like to target players against Indiana. Now it's a little bit different than it was earlier in the season because Halliburton is hurt. Their pace isn't quite up to what it was. They're not putting up 250 totals anymore. Like the total today is 228 and a half. Like 228 and a half. Like if this game was in November, it would have been in the 240s, right? Even against the Nets. And so that is something to keep in mind. We're not targeting players against Indiana as much as we were earlier in the season, but I think we still want to get there. And Cam Thomas, I think, is a fine GPP play. It's a fine pivot off of the, if you want to pivot off one of the other high dollar guards, especially like Jordan Poole. Like, um, I don't know.
He's
It's
kind
an
of the same player. I feel like they're kind of the same player, both Cam
yeah,
Thomas
yeah,
and
pretty
Poole.
similar outcomes,
Yeah.
right? Like they both have to get hot shooting from the floor. And it's like Cam Thomas is a little bit more expensive. He's coming in for 12% on DraftKings versus Jordan Poole's 34%. And it's like, it's an imperfect analogy and it's even weirder because their ownerships really aren't that different. But like, is Jordan Poole going to outscore Cam Thomas 3 out of 4 times? Maybe. But the point is, I think Cam Thomas is a little bit under-owned today, so I think he's a fine GPP play. I'm not going to target him super hard, but I do want to make sure I have a few percent of him in my exposures. And the model, I mean, the model's lukewarm on him, and so it's a risk.
Yeah, I think he's a good tournament shot. I agree. I probably won't go crazy, but I'll maybe get a few shares of him for sure.
And we just got Herb Jones ruled out.
That's
So,
pretty good.
dude, did you see what happened to him yesterday?
No, I didn't know what happened.
I'm pretty sure he copped a concussion, and he's walking around the bench holding his head, and then he checked back in the game and like didn't know where he was on defense. But then he started the second half and like played fine, and so they're ruling him out today with a back and hip injury. Like it's his head, dude. He hit his head.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
We'll see how this. We'll wait a few minutes and refresh the model and see how that affects it. But let's go ahead and talk about some forwards now.
Yeah.
So top of the model, they took away AD's power forward eligibility on DraftKings. But LeBron, Kuz, DeMar, Zion, the guys with double-digit OF indexes. Tell me about these guys.
Yeah, man. We kind of briefly talked about Zion earlier, but he's just been really, really good. You mentioned it, like his price point, it seems too low still. He's up to 91 on FanDuel, but at DraftKings, still sub 8.5K. Love Zion here, assuming this game stays close, which I think it should. And then DeMar's kind of the cashiest play, I feel like. 8,200. He's shown a huge ceiling recently, so I'm fine with him here as well. And then Caruso, we already mentioned him. Just a great, great play. Forward eligible on DraftKings. Love him as
well. Caruso, Kuzma.
Like straight up?
Or no, you like did you say Kuzma?
Oh no, I didn't say Kuzma. I said Zion, DeRozan, and Caruso.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think Kuzma's fine too. Pretty insane OF index, I think, with Tyus Jones out. It's probably the reason why it's a little bit higher than usual. Projected for 36 minutes, 8,300, 11% on DK. I like Kuzma, man. This is like a pretty good. If you don't want to play Jordan Poole, how does Jordan Poole fail? He misses shots. He doesn't get there, like because Kuzma gets there, right? No, it's not a perfect 1-for-1, but like playing more of the other Washington guys, if you don't like Jordan Poole today, I think is a pretty good spot. And Kuzma's not that much more expensive than Poole, like a couple thousand, sure, but we do have enough like cheap mid-range guys that we can fit in to get these guys in. But Zion is probably my favorite play on the slate considering ownership. Probably gonna have like 60% Zion in my final run, so love this spot for Zion today.
Yeah, man, fantastic spot for Zion, and he really showed us that ceiling last night. Good for 54 DraftKings points, and I think he's in a great spot here. So I don't 60% is a lot. I don't know if I'd go 60 just because we have a bunch of Chicago plays, but I think he's a really good play.
Let me see what I got on my early run. I only got 40 on my first run, so maybe
only 40.
Only 40%. But like you guys know, I go pretty extreme in my ownerships, and sometimes I'm right, and sometimes I'm right, but I have 98% Bones Highland, so it doesn't even matter.
He pretty much got there, man. Like
he didn't fail.
Yeah,
but I didn't see if he was in. I don't think he was in the winner last night. The winner had a super random 3,300 guy instead. Christian Brown was in the winner last night instead of Bones Highland, so that was cool. Brown. Put up 30 plus. Woo. Miles Bridges, Brandon Ingram. I like Zion a lot. I'm playing BI too, but I don't know. I think that Zion is a spot today. You looking at BI?
Yeah, man. I think he's fine. I don't know, man. I feel like Zion's really taken over as the alpha on this team. I think Ingram, he's at a really good price point, so I get the intrigue for that. But in terms of like ceilings, it's really been Zion over Ingram. So probably not for me.
Nice. Jalen Williams has been pretty good. I think he's a pretty decent GPP shot too. 6,900 model thinks he's fine. Anything else from this mid range?
Not too much.
Start by value.
Siakam was pretty chalky last slate. Are you getting any Siakam tonight?
In theory, I'd like to. I think his price is good. He was 7,200 last time. I think he completely failed, but I mean 7,500 against Brooklyn. 10% owned. I don't mind taking some shots, but I'd rather just pay a little bit more and get up to Zion, I think.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you.
I mean, he's been fine. Put up 40 in the last game, 45 game before that. Like, if Siakam gives you 45 at this price tonight, we're pretty happy with it. And like giving 39.75, it's not a fail. Like, probably doesn't help us win a GPP, but yeah, Siakam at 10% ownership seems pretty good tonight.
Yeah, and
Nice
then
call.
one more shout in the mid range. I've never been too high on him, but Danny Advia coming in at sub 20% on, or I guess 30% on FanDuel, but I think he's fine, man. I just prefer getting up to Kuzma. Like I get he's a solid play, but I don't know, man. I don't love playing Denny at 7K. How about you though?
I have Denny projected insane today, dude.
Really?
Yeah, when I ran my stuff in the morning, I was like, all right, I guess I'm playing Denny today. But the model thinks he's okay. Doesn't think he's great for the price coming in. The model, so according to the model probably thinks he's a little bit overowned, and so I take that into account and I lower him a little bit from the insane projection I had. But I think he's still fine as a GPP play. What about Corey Kispert? Kind of a similar play.
Yeah, I think Advia. I think he does a little bit more in terms of peripherals more than Kispert, but
Mm-hmm.
Kispert's in a great spot against Chicago. Should be able to hit a bunch of threes, so I think he's fine in terms of value here or mid tier, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, 2% owned at 5,500 on DraftKings, 8% over on FanDuel at 5,400. Probably, it's just FanDuel pricing works a little bit weirder. So 5,400 on FanDuel is better than 5,500 on DraftKings. But wasn't this guy like mega chalk when he was $1,000 cheaper last week? It's like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, the $1,000 matters definitely, but at 2% owned and everyone's going to Pool. Again, I kind of just feel like I want to be a little bit over on the rest of Pool's teammates. Still playing a bunch of Pool though.
Yeah, man. And I feel like Tyus, he does score occasionally, but mostly a, facilitator, assists a lot. So um, definitely a lot of like potential assists to go around there for Washington.
And this is a good point in the chat, Jason Jordan. Thank you. Holmes is back tonight. They said Kispert might not start. Yeah, that's definitely going to matter. We have a couple spots in their starting lineup we're not sure about. With like, is Poole going to start? Probably not, right? And then, so Underdog has their projected starting lineup: Jared Butler, Koulibaly, Denny Avdia, Kuzma, and Rashawn Holmes. Which, I mean, that
That's
makes sense to me. So if Kispert is off the bench, then I'm gonna like him a bit less, but he's still so low owned. I'm gonna have like, if you're making a bunch of lineups and you have like 5% Kispert, it seems fine.
Yeah, man. I think we should see Poole off the bench. Like I think they need his scoring. They like his scoring off the bench as of recently. So I kind of expect that as well.
All right, let me just refresh and let's take a look at New Orleans and see if anything changed with Herb Jones out. So probably should screenshot so I can see the differences before and after. But Zion looks great. Bi looks great. Jonas Valanciunas at his price looks phenomenal. Top value play on the slate. And CJ, I feel like CJ's kind of forgotten all the time. 6,400, 6,600. His usage is a lot lower than you would expect. A lot of it has to do with the emergence of Point Zion. But, I mean, are you interested in CJ as a GPP play at all?
Man, this price, man. If you told me 6,400 earlier on in the year, I would have been like, why are
Yeah,
we not
man.
locking and loading CJ? But
Yeah.
he just doesn't seem like the same player in terms of a fantasy, man, as of recently. Like, not showing us that huge ceiling. I don't know, man. I love the price. I don't love his recent play.
So I did notice Herb Jones is still in the model here. So those 31 minutes are going to be dispersed. It's going to matter a lot. It's going to boost everybody. I'm pretty sure, like, not that Herb Jones's usage is that high, but it's just the way projections work. Trey Murphy, 6,100, 6,200 at sub 5% ownership. Is this too deep today, or you like it?
No, I love that call, man.
Yeah, let's
Murphy
go.
with no Herb at low ownership. I'm I've always been a huge Murphy fan, so I love that call, man.
It's like I look at this guy and I play him when he's chalk and he sucks, but this is a player who, on any random night, even coming off the bench, playing 27 minutes, is capable of putting up a 40 ball. Just get hot from three. And he's done it a few times recently. And so, I mean, I feel like this is probably closer to a pivot off of Kelly Oubre than anyone else. Just the price is
Mhm.
the same position. So, yeah, Trey Murphy, pretty decent GPP shot. The model doesn't love him, but it's hard to love guys like Trey Murphy, I guess, when their medium projection is so bad.
Yeah, I agree, man. And like, I'll take that chance, man. If Uber is going to be 30%, Murphy, I'd argue, has just as good as a ceiling, if not better, if he's setting the shots.
Yep.
And it's a
Yep.
great matchup. So,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
Yeah. The difference is, so like Kelly Oubre is without Tobias, which is a bigger difference than Trey Murphy without Herb Jones, but the ownership difference like 10 to 1. I don't care. I'll take the risk on Trey Murphy.
Yeah.
And you guys already like heard I was a little lukewarm on Kelly Oubre anyway. I still think he's great, but Trey Murphy, good GPP. Favorite center on FanDuel. So let's go ahead and go to centers. Favorite FanDuel, favorite center on FanDuel, not named Vooch. It's so funny, dude. When I was building my FanDuel dummy, I plugged in Aiton as my center. Love Aiton tonight. And then I scrolled down. I was like, wait, why is Vooch cheaper than Aiton? Because they're switched on DraftKings. Aiton's cheaper than Vooch. On FanDuel, Vooch is cheaper. And so on DraftKings, I'm playing more Aiton. On FanDuel, I'm playing more Vooch. But you said besides Vooch, do you have a center besides Vooch for FanDuel?
Ooh, let me just pull up the ownership on FanDuel here. Yeah, Vooch would be number one. I would say.
Yeah.
Let's see. I kind of want to go for a lone shot here. I don't hate Nick Claxton, man. I guess against Indiana, 7,300. That's kind of be my lone shot. But again, like 80 and Joe Val, both pretty good too. Obviously, their own as well.
Yeah, it's like the 5,900 for Joval on FanDuel. I feel like it's a lot different than the 5,200 on DraftKings, but I mean, third highest owned center. There's only three guys above 10% today: Vooch, AD, and Jonas. And AD has power forward eligibility. AD great, top of the model. I mean, this is like Giannis, Jokic, Luka type of OF index. So AD, even at his price on FanDuel, great. And on DraftKings, dude, 10-2 for AD, 24%. Yes, please. I'm gonna play a bunch of AD tonight and just hope that Draymond doesn't punch him in the face or something.
Isn't Draymond questionable too? If he's out, man,
Is Draymond
80,
questionable?
he should munch if Draymond's out here.
Okay, yeah, Draymond is a Q tag. Good call there. I mean, if Draymond's out, I'm going right to Trace Jackson Davis. He probably gets destroyed by AD, but like I've said it 100 times this season, AD does not stop other centers from scoring fantasy points. As good of a defensive player as he is. So whoever starts for the Warriors is going to look pretty good. But and I don't know. Let's touch on TJD real quick because I think this is a pretty big spot if Draymond's out.
Definitely.
We only have one center. Are the other guys just power forward eligible or something? Like, is
think so.
Saric out?
Let me check. I don't. I have no
Saric must be out because I know Looney just got a DNP coach's decision. He wasn't hurt, but he did kind of re-enter the rotation, and so I have no idea what Steve Kerr is going to do, especially if Draymond's out. But I'm assuming TJD is going to be the biggest beneficiary, and I mean at 5,400, this is like one of the last games, right? Yeah, this is the last game on the slate. Like, if you got a low on TJD, especially when again another day where center is kind of tough, you're gonna feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, I don't love the elevated price point, but you mentioned it's a great spot here for TJD. So I would like him a ton if Draymond's out for sure.
DeRozan 8,700 on FanDuel. Yeah, I think we both like DeRozan.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he's a great GPP play.
yeah, he's just in. I feel like he's a safer forward play. He's probably good for like 40 plus.
Let's get through the centers real quick, and then we'll answer the rest of the questions. But like, yeah, I do think Vooch is the best, easiest center to play today on both sides at his price. So ownership actually seems kind of low to me, just given how tough center is today. Especially they're playing Washington. Like it's different with Rashawn Holmes. We don't have that much of a sample with him starting at center, but I mean, Rashawn Holmes is fine, but it's Vooch against Washington. Top center play on the slate, followed by AD. Jonas Valanciunas is pretty good. I mean, Jabari Walker pulling 15% ownership at the power forward position over on FanDuel. Are you interested in that at all?
Oh man, Jabari, he's been very kind of boom bust, but I will note Jeremy Grant, I believe, is out for Portland, so I think he could get a pretty decent size boost here. So I don't love it, don't hate it. I'd probably be around the field there with I forget names, man. I'm
Jabari
sorry,
Walker.
Jabari Walker. I don't know why I'm
Yeah.
forgetting.
But yeah, I mean, there's no center anyone wants to play today, so it's like
Yeah,
everyone's a GPP play, man. Miles Turner, Chet Holmgren, Nick Claxton, DeAndre Ayton, I guess JJJ, Jalen Smith,
yeah.
Rashawn Holmes. FanDuel, it's 5,600 is tough on FanDuel. 4,400 on DraftKings for Rashawn Holmes. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like him, man. Obviously the spend up centers with 80 Vooch are definitely safer, but 4,400, like I think he has a decent, ceiling here at this price. So I like him for sure.
He played 36 minutes against Charlotte, 25 against Orlando, and he got there for his DraftKings price in both games. So
Yeah.
I don't know, something about the potential to play this many minutes if they need him to. And like Chicago's big. They always have Vooch or Drummond on the court. They don't have Patrick Williams. They can't really go small right now. So the Wizards probably do need a center on the court most of the time. They only have one right now. Marvin Bagley's still hurt. So I don't know. Rashawn Holmes on DraftKings, like, I'm a little surprised he's not higher owned,
Yeah,
especially given how tough center is today.
and yeah, you mentioned that they need him with Vooch and Drummond, so just kind of monitor the starting lineup. If he starts, he's a really good play.
It's like, I guess you could just pay 800 more for Jonas Valanciunas, but I still like taking shots on Rashawn Holmes at $800 can do something for the rest of your lineup.
Yeah,
Did you play Pokashevsky yesterday?
I did not know. I didn't even know he was a play.
Dude, I played him because he got really good minutes in the previous game, and it looks like they want to give him another shot. And we know that this guy's a phenomenal fantasy producer. So I played a bit of him yesterday, and I thought I was a genius in that first half because he was going off, but then he only played 16 minutes total. Unfortunate. But still put up 19 fantasy points in those 16 minutes. And Charlotte against Philly, I didn't see what the spread moved to. It's not quite a blowout. But I mean, Poku, I'll just throw him out there as like a deep shot if you need a guy under 4K. I think he's a fine, like high risk candidate today.
Yeah, man, I like that call.
And let's get to some questions here. Higgins. All right. So Higgins was my super call on the night slate 2 nights ago. And I played like 80%, dude. Came in 0.7%. I've never been 100x the field on a player before in DFS. First time ever. He came out, had like 12 fantasy points in the first half. I was like, all right, I'm taking it down. He kind of stopped in the second half, but he did fantastic. He's not even in the model, dude. That's tough. So the reason I was interested in him last time was because Simons was out and they were starting Banton and Scoot Henderson. And Higgins he's only ball handler off the bench, so he just had to play. But with Simons back today, his playing time is not it's not confirmed. He
Yeah,
could DNP, probably plays a few minutes, but that is a pretty deep shot GPP play today, I think.
yeah, I probably won't get there, especially with Simon's back. But I guess you could maybe look to. I personally wouldn't, but you could, I guess.
I don't know what happened here between March 8th and March 14th. I'm assuming he just didn't play these few games with Simons in, and so he's definitely a DMP candidate tonight. Like if he was just on the night slate, I'd say maybe he's okay to take a couple shots on there, but on this main slate, this is probably a little bit too thin today. Because it's like even if he gets the minutes, he has to do well. Like 19 fantasy points, playing a 0.1% owned guy today, it's not really going to do anything for you.
Yeah, no, agreed.
Can we play Alvarado and Najee together due to blowout concerns? So I never plan for a blowout. I never like build my lineups like, all right, this lineup's going to do well if there's a blowout. Like, can Alvarado and Najee get there in regular time? Maybe. Like, do they get a huge boost from blowouts? Absolutely, of course. Are you looking at these two guys today, Alvarado and Najee Marshall?
I don't think I'm going to look at Alvarado, but I think Najee potentially you could look at for value. Great matchup for sure. So maybe Najee, but probably not Alvarado for me.
Yeah, Najee looks fine at 4K, and then Alvarado 3,700. It's like in a vacuum, 3,700 Jose Alvarado against Portland seems like a fine play. It's just we have such good guard plays already that it's hard to fit him in the roster. But I don't mind either of them. I'm okay getting to these guys. Is Torrey Craig starting? I think so.
Did he start last game? I'm trying to
I'm
look
pretty
in.
sure that he did. I might be mistaken though.
My buddy's a huge Bulls fan. I should text him and
Okay.
ask him.
Yeah, looks like they're expecting to start Io DeSunmu, Caruso, DeRozan, Torrey Craig, and Vooch. And dude, I was joking about Torrey Craig with Smitty last time, like, because he was chalk on FanDuel, and he came in and hit 3 threes in a row, and I'm like, all right, well, shout out to the Torrey Craig chalk guys, but he's projected for 33% and 43% ownership. I don't think it's bad. 4K 4,200, similar to the other 4K guys we just played or just talked about. Like this is the chalk, the other guys are the pivot. So I'm playing a bunch of Torrey Craig today, though. It seems like a pretty easy play to make on both sides.
Yeah, man. Just like playing so many Bulls. It's like I think this leads
Yeah,
us perfectly to the next question, right?
yeah.
When we
How
go,
many bulls is too many on FanDuel? I don't know. Like, is 4 too many? I don't think 4 is too many. Just scrolling through, I am playing FanDuel today. Like, my lineups mostly have 3 or 4 bulls. I'm playing small contest today though, small field. Um, so I use less randomness and just like 4 Bulls running it back with a couple Wizards, I think is probably the way to go for small field on FanDuel today. And so 3 or 4 seems fine. I don't have a problem with either.
Yeah, agreed. I'd definitely be fine with 4 on DraftKings too. With how many good plays we have here.
Is Torrey Craig a good punt on DraftKings? Well, the field is saying he is 33% owned. So, I mean, the model, let's just compare to everyone else. 12 DK value. I don't know if the slates are the same, but I'll do that anyway. 12 DK value. Like, you do have to scroll down a bit to get to Torrey Craig on this first page of value, which is not great. And so the model's saying there are better values in Torrey Craig, similar prices like Chris Murray. But are we really going to play Chris Murray in a bunch of our lineups over Torrey Craig? Probably not. I mean, 4,500 TJ McConnell, Lou Dort, Kamara. So the thing is, all these guys are very low owned. And so you're taking a risk not playing Torrey Craig, but the model is saying we can get away from the Torrey Craig chalk if you want to.
I think you can, man, but I don't know. He feels like Craig's typically a pretty good producer, so I'm fine with eating the chocolate.
Yeah, let me see how many minutes did he play last game? Played 27 minutes, had 23 fantasy points. Like, again, another player where at 4K, if he gives you 23 fantasy points, you're not like super upset about it, but you really have to nail the rest of your lineup to win a GPP. And I'm talking about like large field. If you're playing small field, just play Craig. There's no reason to pivot off of him.
Yeah.
Do we think Poole starts? I'm just going by underdog. Underdog doesn't think so, so I'm going to go with that. And it kind of makes sense if they want to keep up like the rhythm that they've built up with him. Just keep bringing him off the bench, but check him in like 3 or 4 minutes into the game. Like, it's the same thing, but psychologically, maybe it matters for them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Either way, I think he's fine play, though.
Yeah, great play either way.
Jerace Walker played. Dude, I was so high on this guy coming into the season. I drafted him so much in best ball, and then he's played 4 minutes the entire season. All right, you got 24 minutes against Chicago last time. Why?
Was it a blowout?
I'm going to look at the rotation and see what happened here because I didn't realize that. I'm pretty happy for him. He had 10 points, 4 rebounds. I think that's a pretty good game for this kid, right?
Yeah. I mean, he's a great fantasy producer when he does get minutes, so.
It's like, let's see what happened in this last game. Miles Turner was in. Jalen Smith was in. Obi Toppin was in. Maybe Isaiah Jackson's out or something. But, yeah, I don't know. It's probably a little too thin if you're thinking about playing him on today's slate. But if you're playing, like, the biggest GPPs and you want to take that shot, then, take your shot. Min-price guy, if he plays 20-plus minutes, I mean, even if he plays bad, 20-plus minutes for a 3K guy that no one else got to, it's pretty good leverage.
Yeah. I probably won't get there, but, I get the appeal there for sure.
Isaiah Joe or Butler? Butler is definitely going to be just go by ownership on this one. Isaiah Joe is he pulling any ownership today? I mean, he's pulling 5%, 10.5 DK value, whereas Jared Butler is 13 DK value at 14%. I think you just follow the model in Jared Butler.
Yeah, I would go with Butler as well.
Hagen's still a two-way guy? As far as I know, yeah, I didn't see anything about him signing a real contract. All right, Jimi Hendrix, I don't know why you're yelling at us, but who's a power forward I can play today that can give me 30 and up DFS points? I mean, it's just, I don't even know if I can answer that question. A lot of guys can give 30. There's probably 30 power forwards, 20 power forwards on the slate that can give 30. It's just how often are they going to, and then what kind of price range are you looking at? But like, let me see if I have any like cheaper power forwards in my exposures just to see what we got here, and then we'll build a dummy and get you guys out of here.
Torrey Craig could get you 30 if you send the shots.
I mean, Torrey Craig, he'll get you 30 a couple times a season, yeah. I mean, like, I'm not going to say like DeMar DeRozan because that's obvious he's going to score 30 today, but from like the cheaper guys, so I'm paying up for DeMar and Zion. I'm getting to a bit of Jalen Williams, LeBron. Like, I'm really not getting to any cheap-ish power forwards. Like, I'm getting a few percent of Jalen Smith. Paul Reed has power forward eligibility. I'm getting 5% of him. I don't know. Like, Denny Avdia is probably a decent look for 40. I had him for 37, which is why I said just an insane projection for him. But I don't know how to answer that question. I don't want to lead you astray, so sorry. Yeah. Jalen Smith, okay? I think he's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get there, but I guess he's fine.
looked up Walker because Naismith fouled out and Siakam kept getting pulled with 5 power forwards. That's why they went to him. Okay, so not a situation we can expect to happen again. But I mean, I don't know. He's probably only a play on like the turbo slates, or if you're playing showdown, then you can take some shots on him. But for the main slate, it's probably not worth the risk. Best nets today against the Pacers defense. You got anything,
Yeah,
Jayhawk?
I would say I like Claxton, and then I also really like someone mentioned him earlier, Cam Thomas. I'll probably be
Yeah,
my favorite.
yeah. Cam Thomas was the guy that came to mind. And I don't love center today. I don't think I'm playing much Claxton. I'll probably get a few percent because I'm getting a few percent of everyone. But Cam Thomas is probably the GPP play. And then Mikal Bridges, like this guy has been chalk, not chalk at this price, coming in at 4% owned. Like if you're playing Mikal Bridges, if you're a guy that plays Mikal Bridges, this seems like the day to be over the field on Mikal Bridges, right? Like if you play
Yeah,
12% in your set, you're 3x the field. That's fantastic. That's awesome leverage. Um, I mean, he's been bad, but like this is a good spot for him to, I don't know, go off, I guess.
yeah, man. I feel like we've been saying this now. Like, when is Mikal Bridges gonna have a good game, man?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a good matchup, so I don't hate it.
And Batum starting thoughts. He is 3,700 and 4,400. I think he's fine on both sides. Yeah, probably. Like if you want to get away from Torrey Craig, like Torrey Craig, Batum, these are kind of like the cheap power forward chalk guys. I think that we can get to today. But 3,700 feels pretty okay for Batum.
Yeah, I'm never a huge Batum guy, but I get he's so cheap starting. He should be fine.
So Trey Murphy is starting for the Pelicans. Pretty good
Perfect.
pivot off of Oubre if you want to get there. Let's build a dummy real quick and get out of here, though. I got to get into Discord.
Yeah, we're running a little bit late.
I just looked at the clock and it's 5
Yeah,
after the 30. I'm like, all right, well, all right. So let's start with Chicago since probably Dummy's probably just gonna have 5 or 6 players from this game now.
yeah,
So I'm gonna throw Caruso in there, top of the model. Um, should we throw DeRozan or Vooch?
yeah. I like both. I think DeRozan probably the cashier play fits that forward spot, but I'm good with either.
All right, let's put DeRozan, and then it sounds like you really like Torrey Craig, so we'll put Torrey
I'll
Craig
be
in
in
there.
there.
Center. I mean, you could go Vooch. I'm gonna go with. Should we go with Aiton as the contrarian guy, or Jonas Valanciunas as like the chalk in our dummy?
I'm good with either. I feel like Joe Val probably is the chalk option, but
Let's throw
I'm
Joe Val in
yeah.
there. Point guard. Unfortunately, we're gonna put Jordan Poole in here.
We both know it.
Yeah, unfortunate. Kuzmania. Yeah, I think Kuzma's fine too. Like Kuzma, Denny Avdia.
Yeah.
That's probably it. As like you can play one with Poole, or you can just play without. Doesn't matter.
So I feel like we got to get one of Murphy or Zion in here now, right?
All right, we're gonna throw Zion in there. This is my
Okay.
biggest. This is my biggest stand today in terms of guy I'm most over on ownership. It still leaves us 6,100 for 2 spots. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, we can take GPP shots on guys like Cam Thomas, D'Lo, Reeves, uh, Trey Murphy, Kelly Oubre.
Yep. Ayo.
Yeah, Ao. Let's throw Kelly Oubre in there since we don't have anyone else from the Sixers, and we already have Zion from the Pels. Leaves us 6,200. And I mean, this is kind of gross. We can just go Trey Murphy or Io to close that out. I think
Yeah.
Micic is a pretty good deep GPP play too. And then
This
like
whole move.
other option is go down to Rashawn Holmes at center and upgrade one of the other spots. So
Yep. No, I agree. That's a great build.
Cam Johnson, I don't know, not a guy I was looking at today. Like, yeah, sure, he can come in and hit a bunch of threes anytime, but at 6K, at the minutes he's been getting recently, it's just this one's a little bit thin for me, but he is a GPP play if that's where you want to go.
Yeah, a GBP play, but I probably won't get very much.
And Paul Reed against Charlotte. Well, Underdog thinks Mo Bamba's starting, and so if Paul Reed's coming off the bench, it's kind of tough. Like, still a GPP play, but I don't know. Like, we can just play Jonas, who we know is starting, and so they're like a lot of pivots today, and so just play a bunch of the chalk and pivot off a couple guys. But we got to get out of here. Appreciate you guys watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Thanks.
See you guys.